Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Flutter Workshop Part 2. As some of you might know, Flutter is a method of developing mobile apps for different platforms using a single code base. And in this workshop, we would be improving on the Flutter app that we created in the Part 1 of the Flutter workshop. Hopefully, all of you already have the Part 1, have done the Part 1, and then you can just continue with this. And so let's move on. Uh, at the end of this app, we would be improving on the basic mobile Flutter app from part one. We'll be running through how to add interactivity to create page-to-page navigation and change the theme of your Flutter application. I'll hand it over to Mandipika now, who will just go through the overview of this Flutter workshop.
Yes. Okay, yeah. For the overview, we'll be improving on the Flutter app that we had from before. So from part one, we had an infinite scrollable list, a list of items, and to that item, firstly, we'll add icons to that list. So we'll have heart icons next to each and every item in the list. Secondly, we'll add interactivity, so we'll make those heart icons tappable, so you'll be able to favorite and unfavorite them. And thirdly, we'll navigate to a new screen. We'll show you how to do that. So whatever items you favorite, you'll be able to see that in a new screen. So you'll have one main page and you'll have a favorited page where only your favorited items will display. And lastly, we'll change the app's theme. So you'll basically add interactivity to what we developed in the first part of the Flutter workshops. And just a reminder, before we can proceed on to adding the interactivity and other stuff to the app, you will need the base code for the that we did for in the part one of the workshops. If you have not attended those workshops, you should go follow our videos on YouTube to finish that part of the workshop and then come back to this video for the next procedure. Or you can also follow the GitHub link, which someone will be sending in the YouTube chat. You can follow that and come back to the video for the next steps. And I will hand it back to Kea.
All right, thank you, Mandipika. So let's get started with improving our Flutter app. So the very first step is to add icons to our list. So the first step in this is to add a saved set to the random word state. So we already have a random word state class. In that, we would already have the suggestions and bigger font sets. We just have to add this saved set, just this one line, as you can see here. Uh, so that's the only line that you add here in the first step. So moving on to the second step, we have a widget called build row which is below the previous part, and here we'll be adding the build row function to it. As we can see, we have to add the new line, which is final already saved, and that's all there is in this step. In the next step, to the build row function, we'll be adding this part from trailing icon all the way down till here, and as you can see. And then we have the last step where you just have to hot reload the app. And now I'll go through the demo uh, of doing the first part. So for the very first part, we have our random word state class, and we have this line that we need to add in here. Once you're done with this, the second part would be in the build row widget down here. We have to add this one line which says final already saved. Once you are done with this, We'll be moving on to the third part, in which we'll be adding the trailing icon, this part, all the way till here. And in the finally, you will just have to run your app, which will open a new Chrome window, and you will be able to see the word pairs with a heart icon next to it. And so this is the end of our demo for part one. So now we would be moving on to part two, which is adding interactivity. So in adding interactivity, we have two steps. The first step is to add the onTap function to the build row method, which we used above. And this will allow the word pairing to be added or removed from a set of the saved favorites. So as you can see, this is the on tap part that we need to add. And then the second part is just to hot reload your app. So when you do this, you'll be able to favorite and unfavorite your word pairs as you would please. So let us go back to the demo for this part. So over here, we would be adding the on tap function from here till here. And this will help you favorite and unfavorite your word pairs. And then once you're done with that, you would run your code again, and then that would hot reload your app. And then, as you can see, the heart icons can be tapped and favorited and unfavorited. So go ahead and try that. So this is the end of the demo for the second part. We will now move on to the third part, and I would like to hand it over to Mandipika for this part.
Okay. Okay, so until now you got the heart icons, and now you can tap them, you can favorite them or unfavorite them. So now what we're gonna do is navigate to a new screen. So we're gonna make a new screen where all your favorited items will appear. For doing that, your first step is going to be firstly, we're going to make an icon on top of the screen so that you have that icon which you can click to move back and forth between the pages. So all you're doing in this step is under the class random word state, under the build function, we're adding the lines which are mentioned, and that will just create an icon for you. That will not do anything. If you press on it, that's not going to do anything because we haven't written any code for it yet, but we just added an icon button on top. So that's what this step is for. Moving on to the next step. So in the same random word state class, if we add another function push saved, that is the function which is going to take care of what will happen when we push that button. Like when we click that button, what's going to happen. And for now, we'll keep this method empty and we'll fill it on as we go in the next steps. So for now, keep it empty. So if you push on that button now, after doing this step, it won't do anything because we haven't written anything in the function yet. So just like this, if you hot reload the app, you have just created an icon. So you'll see the icon on top, and when you tap it, nothing will happen because you haven't written the push saved function yet. You just created it. Okay. So in the same push saved function now, we're going to start to write the code. So firstly, we'll mention the navigator.push. This is basically us telling it to like where to route when we push that button. So when you add that piece of code, we'll tell it where do we want to go, like to what page do we want to go. Okay. So this is the code which takes care of that part. Like in this part of the code, we're building what the content of the new page is going to be. Like as you go through the code, you'll notice that we're first building the new page. by like it's building like every tile, like it's building new tiles, and then it's dividing the tiles into little sections, and then we're naming our page saved suggestions. So our favorited items will have the name saved suggestions. So this is what this code is handling. Like when we push saved, when we click on the button, it'll take us to this new page, which is what we defined it will be. Okay, and then yeah, this is okay. Now if you hot reload the app and you press on the button we created, on the icon we created, it's going to take you to the new page, and it'll show you what all items you favorited, because now we have written code for it. Okay, so now I will show you guys where to put all those codes. Okay. Okay, firstly, the place where we created a button, right? It was the build function. Yes, right here. In the class words random state, you have this part. So you're basically creating an icon, which on pressed, you're supposed to do whatever your push saved function does. Okay, so yes, let's go to the push saved function now. So yeah, push saved function, we're putting it in the same random word state class, random word state class.
Mandipika, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I think you're not sharing your screen.
Oh, okay, 1 second. Okay, now share. Yes, am I sharing now?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay, I will repeat that. Okay, so navigating to a new screen. Yeah, so first we built the icon, which was right here. Under the random word state class, under the build function, we had this part of the code which tells to create an icon. So this is the part we added to make a new icon on top of the page. So the next part was the adding push saved function. Okay, we're adding the push saved function to the same class, a random word state class. It's right here, yeah. So we added this whole function, which defines what is going to happen when we press the push. Okay. Yeah, that's about it for this part. And I'm going to switch back to the slides. Okay. So moving on to the next part is the changing the UI using the themes. So we're basically what we're going to do in this part is change the app's theme. So for this part, since we're applying this theme to the whole app, we're not gonna change it in random word state. We're gonna change this in the my app states class so that it applies to the whole app. So just add the 3 lines that are mentioned in the code. And since it says primary color, like colors.white, so we're choosing white color for our background. And just doing that will change the theme of the app. And I will, yeah, and as you can see in the picture, that even the blue bar that was on top now is white, like since you changed the whole app's theme. So I will quickly share where that part of the code is. 1 second. Okay, so that part was so see, firstly we added all the code in random word state, but now we're changing the theme in my app. So we're doing this theme part in the my app so that it applies to the whole app. Okay, I think that's was about it for the demo. Yeah, that was all for the workshop. Thank you so much for joining. Yeah, thank you so much for joining and stay tuned for more.
Thank you.
Thank you.